let's take a fairly in-depth look at some of the statements that Benjamin Netanyahu made at his speech before Congress. And let's also take a quick look at some of the headlines covering his speech. Some of them they're embarrassing. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
If you have not seen the entire Netanyahu speech, I encourage you. It's worth the 43 minutes of time that it'll take if you can bring it up online. You might be able to search for it on your television. If you have not seen it, I'm going to play a good number of clips today and tomorrow on our TV show. And you won't hear the whole speech here, but you're going to get a lot of it and hopefully a decent analysis of what went on. But I have to first focus for just a minute on the press coverage. It was so political from the first minute after the speech was done. I don't remember a time when it was so stark. In other words, after President Obama's speech, a State of the Union speech, for example, you've got CNN with their praise the president, you've got Fox with what a loser he is, but they both kind of start off at the beginning on the same footing, looking for high points, low points, discussing applause, looking for the things that he said that seem to resonate with the opposition party. Not so with this speech. The folks at CNN went for the jugular right out of the blocks. And the headlines that I'm going to read to you from some of the news outlets online some of them are comical. One other thing I want to point out. If you are a Drudge user, Drudge is one of the places that we go just to find the links to the news. I admit it. And it is the most popular website in the world, at least last time I heard. So Drudge, his guys are really smart. They really are. Because every single story that he posted had a positive headline in the story. There were so many negative stories, it was mind-boggling. But if you only used Drudge, you'd have thought that the whole world, the whole media world, thought that this was the greatest speech that ever happened. Conversely, if you use a Google search engine and put in reaction to Netanyahu's speech or just news coverage, Netanyahu's speech before Congress, the stuff that flies to the top reflects Google's politics. Negative story after negative story after negative story. And I haven't gotten to the bottom of it yet. As we do, we'll let you know. But Google has recently admitted that their search engines are not based upon the popularity of a website, but sometimes on content. And now they're saying that they want to determine what websites they think are truthful and bump them to the top of the search engine. So CNN and MSNBC, you guys are going to be way up there with Google. Fox, you're in the basement. Shows like The Voice of Resistance, we don't even exist as far as Google will be concerned. All right, let's quickly look at the headlines so I can go to the next segment. Start playing. CNN, Netanyahu warns Congress. Deal will lead to Iranian nuclear bomb. How CNN got that headline right online, I will never know. National Journal, Netanyahu to Congress. We are better off without the emerging U.S. deal with Iran. Here's an organization called My Way, the Associated Press story. Netanyahu assails Iran nuclear talks in Congress address. CBS DC. Now, this is a local affiliate in Washington, D.C., right? It's not CBS National News. Who knows what their headline was? They didn't like it at Drudge, so they put in the local headline. Netanyahu, nuclear deal paves Iran's path to the bomb. Washington Free Beacon. U.S. concessions handing Iran a clear path to nuclear bomb. Deal would leave Iran just a year away from functional nuclear weapon. Let's do two more really quick. The Weekly Standard. Thunderous applause. State of the Union-like welcome for Bibi. That's the headline of the story. I mean, this is a story, thunderous applause. And then finally, Gateway Pundit. Wow, Democrats lash out at Netanyahu. Tell him to go home. Call him a child. We'll actually play one little clip from the congressman from Kentucky who was an embarrassment to himself. I felt like I was watching a teenager. It was just bad. I'll be right back. We'll play clips from the speech, make a few comments, and hopefully bring you and myself, but bring you closer to understanding what Netanyahu was saying at certain points. Because, you know, despite the fact that Nancy Pelosi was about moved to tears, he actually said some things that Nancy didn't understand. Just admit it, Nancy. You didn't understand. That's why you were crying.
Hey, everyone's been asking me, when's Unstoppable coming out on DVD? Well, it's here. And I have created my own deluxe signature version of Unstoppable that contains not only the movie, but over 5 hours of additional curriculum and study guides for your family. It's perfect for your homeschool, educational facility, small group Bible study, and family devotions. And I'm going to share with you some of the spiritual warfare that surrounded the release of this film. This box set also includes extended scenes, new music videos, the inside scoop on the whole Facebook controversy. So what are you waiting for? I made this special version with my family in mind, and I know your family will be blessed by it too. Unstoppable 2.0 Deluxe Signature Version, available only here at KurtCameron.com. I can't wait for you to experience what's inside.
Welcome back, friend. All right, I got to get this out of my system. Politico, ready? 5 things President Obama's team thinks Benjamin Netanyahu got wrong. Politico was literally a mouthpiece for the administration. Talk about lackeys. Talk about carrying the administration's water. Go search for it yourself. 2 more really quick. Al Jazeera. Now, we all know that they're a very well-respected media outlet. Emperor God Netanyahu refuses the deal with Iran, gets 43 applauses and standing ovations from his worshipers in the U.S. Congress. And then finally, let's quote Nancy Pelosi. Because Nancy, my heart goes out to you. You were on the verge of tears. Here it is. I was near tears throughout the Prime Minister's speech, saddened by the insult to the intelligence of the United States as part of the P5+1 nations, and saddened by the condescension toward our knowledge of the threat posed by Iran and our broader commitment to preventing nuclear proliferation. Now, let me just point out one thing about the House Minority Leader, Nancy Pelosi, all right, as she talks about condescending. This is the woman who rammed Obamacare through and told Congress that they needed to vote for it without reading it. Yes, Minority Leader Pelosi, we do question your intelligence. There's a lot of us who do. We question your stability. We question your moral compass. This is a woman who, by her actions, has been reprobate against her faith. This is a woman who, by her actions, has piecemeal rejected the commandments of God. Therefore, she is a fool. So, God save her, God forgive her, God save us from her. All right, let's go. Let's turn to the speech. Enough of Nancy Pelosi and her tears. All right, play the first clip.
And Israel is grateful to you, the American Congress, for your support, for supporting us in so many ways, especially in generous military assistance and missile defense, including Iron Dome. Last summer, millions of Israelis were protected from thousands of Hamas rockets because this Capitol Dome helped build our Iron Dome.
Now, I thought that was really good because he started off very respectful, very thankful. And he went on a 2 or 3 minute thanks to President Obama. So for people who were trying to say that he was dissing the president, Prime Minister Netanyahu went out of his way to thank the Congress, but to specifically thank President Obama for the steps he has taken during his administration to help Israel. Let's play the next clip.
Tomorrow night, on the Jewish holiday of Purim, we'll read the book of Esther. We'll read of a powerful Persian viceroy named Aman, who plotted to destroy the Jewish people some 2,500 years ago. But a courageous Jewish woman, Queen Esther, exposed the plot and gained for the Jewish people the right to defend themselves against their enemies. The plot was foiled. Our people were saved.
All right, this was good. This was fun, connecting this speech with Esther saving the Israeli people. But here he sets the tone. And this is what a lot of Americans don't get, if they're even paying attention. Take a look at a map and look at Israel. All right, at points, Israel is 3 or 6 miles wide. I mean, it's just a teeny swath of land. You understand how small some of it is? 1 or 2 well-placed nuclear weapons could decimate 80% of the country and probably 90% of the population. This is about their survival. So they do look at it very differently than we do. All right, I'm going to play one more clip about Iran.
To understand just how dangerous Iran would be with nuclear weapons, we must fully understand the nature of the regime.
This is what we will focus on for the rest of this show and tomorrow's show. The nature of this regime and why it is an act of political and national suicide to allow Iran to get nuclear weapons. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. As we will see, Benjamin Netanyahu now drives home the point about the nature of the Iranian regime. And the nature, which he, thank God, says is militant Islam. It is a part of Iran's theological mission, their faith-based mission to conquer the world for Islam. Now, I'll grant you that they're Shiites, not Sunnis, but the Shiites and the Sunnis, as we will discuss in a little while, they're both committed to imposing Sharia law on the world. They're both committed to conquering the world for Allah and the, quote, Prophet Muhammad. So let's take a look at some of the things he says about the regime.
The regime's founder, Ayatollah Khomeini, exhorted his followers to export the revolution throughout the world. I'm standing here in Washington, D.C., and the difference is so stark. America's founding document promises life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Iran's founding document pledges death, tyranny, in the pursuit of jihad.
All right. Obviously, the Iranian constitution or governing body of words doesn't say that they want to export tyranny, but that is, in effect, what Islam calls for. You cannot criticize the Prophet Muhammad. You cannot proclaim that Jesus is Lord. And later on, Netanyahu says, look, this is a danger not just to Jews, but to Christians. And he's got it right. Let's play the next clip.
Just last week, near Hormuz, Iran carried out a military exercise blowing up a mock U.S. aircraft carrier. That's just last week, while they're having nuclear talks with the United States. But unfortunately, for the last 36 years, Iran's attacks against the United States have been anything but mock, and the targets have been all too real. Iran took dozens of Americans hostage in Tehran, murdered hundreds of American soldiers, Marines in Beirut, and was responsible for killing and maiming thousands of American servicemen and women in Iraq and Afghanistan. Beyond the Middle East, Iran attacks America and its allies through its global terror network. It blew up the Jewish Community Center and the Israeli embassy in Buenos Aires. It helped al-Qaeda bomb U.S. embassies in Africa. It even attempted to assassinate the Saudi ambassador right here in Washington, D.C.
So here we see, rather than dismissing Iran or saying, like Obama's saying, that there's a really large group of people that really want change in the government, like what, college kids? I mean, what are we talking about, President Obama? Not the people in power. We see, while Obama is kowtowing to the Iranian Khomeinis and imams, while he's kowtowing to them, paving the way, as we will see, to get nuclear weapons, they're bombing a mock U.S. aircraft carrier. I mean, think through the insult of that. At least when Hitler met with Chamberlain, think of Obama as the modern day Chamberlain. Chamberlain was from England. And they were talking about gobbling up Czechoslovakia. At least Hitler had the decency to not bomb an English aircraft carrier made out of a box. At least he had the decency to pretend that he was a friend of England. These people don't even have the decency to do that. They are saying this to the U.S. They're telling the entire Muslim world, don't worry, we're negotiating with the great Satan, but these are what the negotiations look like. We're going to bomb, we're going to practice military target with a fake U.S. aircraft carrier. Wake up, President Obama. Let's go. Play the next clip, please.
In the Middle East, Iran now dominates 4 Arab capitals: Baghdad, Damascus, Beirut, and Sana'a. And if Iran's aggression is left unchecked, more will surely follow. So at a time when many hope that Iran will join the community of nations, Iran is busy gobbling up the nations. We must all stand together to stop Iran's march of conquest, subjugation, and terror.
So, again, this is the nature of the regime. To be an influence, and if not just an influence, to be able to control other governments. And to control them by money, by military training, by military hardware, and by fear. It wasn't long ago that Lebanon was called the Jewel of the East. It was a place where people would go to vacation from Europe, a huge Christian population. And Hezbollah, an Iranian-backed Shiite terrorist group, trained by Iran, funded by Iran, Hezbollah literally destroyed the beauty of Lebanon. That's what Iran is about. That's the nature of the regime. Why would we work with these people ultimately to get a nuclear weapon? I'll be right back. I have been a leader in the pro-life movement for 30 years, and sadly we have not prevailed in our goal to make it a criminal act to kill an unborn baby. There's reasons why we have failed. I wrote this book, A Humble Plea, to Catholic bishops, to evangelical clergy, and to lay people, explaining where we went wrong and what we have to do to prevail. We've made this available as a PDF online for free. I encourage you to go and download your own copy. Why does a nice guy like me keep getting thrown in jail? I have been arrested almost 50 times and spent over a year of my life locked up in various prison facilities. And I wrote a book, many books. In fact, one of them is called Why Does a Nice Guy Like Me Keep Getting Thrown in Jail? It's a theological work, answering those who say that the church should not be involved in politics or that we should retreat. I encourage you to get it. In fact, get one and give it to your pastor. All right, I want to keep going forward with this. Play this clip because this is the heart and soul of the ideological battle.
The ideology of Iran's revolutionary regime is deeply rooted in militant Islam. And that's why this regime will always be an enemy of America. And don't be fooled. The battle between Iran and ISIS doesn't turn Iran into a friend of America. Iran and ISIS are competing for the crown of militant Islam. One calls itself the Islamic Republic. The other calls itself the Islamic State. Both want to impose a militant Islamic empire, first on the region and then on the entire world.
Fighting for the crown, okay? In other words, they're still going to be evil. It's going to be either Islamic law in the Shiite version or Islamic law in the Sunni version. And let me explain it. And by the way, for those of you who don't follow any of this, but you watch a lot of movies, it would be like the Decepticons of the Transformers fighting Lord Business in the Lego movie. Okay, at the end of the day, one of them is going to win, but they're still going to control the world. All right, maybe Nancy's watching those movies with her kids, and she'd understand the lesson if she heard this. I don't want to make her cry. All right. The Shiites and the Sunnis have been fighting since the first generation of Islam. The Iranians hate the Islamic State because they're Sunnis. That's why they're fighting them. They're not fighting them because they want to help America. They're fighting them because the Shiites believe that only a blood relative of Muhammad can be the leader of the Islamic people. And the Sunnis believe, no, it could be any one of his four rightly guided caliphs, the original caliphs that were not friends, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman. All right, play the clip and I'll explain.
In this deadly game of thrones, there's no place for America or for Israel. No peace for Christians, Jews, or Muslims who don't share the Islamist medieval creed. No rights for women, no freedom for anyone. So when it comes to Iran and ISIS, the enemy of your enemy is your enemy.
Do you see it? He gets it. Netanyahu gets it. The enemy of my enemy is my enemy. Because let's say that the Shiites finally do bring in under control the Sunnis, which is not going to happen. Let's say that they did. They're still going to want to conquer the world for Islam. They're still going to want to oppress all human rights, treat women the way they do, Christians the way they do. This is a terrorist regime, President Obama. The State Department calls it a state sponsor of terrorism. And as we will see in tomorrow's broadcast, according to the response of the Obama administration, they have all but admitted that, yes, the deal that we are cutting will prolong them getting a nuclear weapon, but probably they're going to get one because they want one. And really, there's nothing we can do about it. Really, President Obama? Really? Watch my show. I'll give you some advice.